you've got to stop letting your expectations control you. Easier said than done, right? I don't think I'm alone in this feeling where I feel like all I'm doing most of the time is spiraling through thoughts in my own head. I feel like I should be working harder, pursuing this career, becoming financially stable. That the people around me seem to be moving through life just fine, so why is it that I don't feel like I'm moving at all? Or I don't feel like I'm good enough? How are people succeeding in achieving stuff while I can't? And I feel like whenever I have these moments, or maybe just for people in general, it's hard to realize that we're just thinking too hard. We build up these stories and expectations in our heads and then get disappointed when reality doesn't match them or feel like we can't measure up to that. We feel like we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard because we have to match the standards of those around us. And, it's kind of hard to get rid of those thoughts. For me, a majority of my time was spent thinking like that day after day. This kind of stagnant life isn't the one I want. One you probably wouldn't want either. But it's true, if nothing changes, that pattern will likely never end. It's a sort of nasty cycle of thinking where you don't like where you are in life, which makes it feel like you can't achieve anything. So you struggle to act and make any difference, which then goes back to making you feel stuck all over again. But simply, the way you think affects how you feel, which then stops you from acting. And it's not like I think a lot of people don't know this. I've been aware of it for so long, but it's always easier to think than to act. That's why we're still stuck trying to figure this stuff out. I think part of realizing where these feelings come from is understanding just how much of it stems from our comparisons to others. Maybe you feel bad about where you're at because someone is ahead. You feel like you're missing something because someone else has it. Like, it makes you wonder if you never saw any of this to begin with, would you still be thinking like this? Your feelings and expectations aren't treating you fairly. I think it's important to realize that everyone's circumstances are different. Some people have more money than you, more connections, more time, more experience. But the inverse can be true as well. And can it feel unfair? Yeah, absolutely. It's not like these advantages mean nothing. I'd be lying if I said they don't, or that I haven't felt any sort of envy because of it. You got dealt your own hand of cards, and all you can do is work with what you got. Stressing over what other people have won't change what's in your hands, so there's not much use in stressing over it. And in realizing this, it helps you stop looking at other people ahead of you as a benchmark for where you need to be, but just as another person on a different path with their own conditions. I like to believe the way we think is largely dictated by what we decide to feel. And I really do mean that we decide how we feel. It's easy to feel pessimistic about things and view yourself negatively because it's simply easier to do that than being positive sometimes. It's a way of coping, of protecting yourself, by pushing blame on a source that feels out of your control or justifying your lack of ability as a valid reason. It lessens the burden on yourself subconsciously. Doing the opposite to try and view things positively is hard, especially if you've normalized self-doubt and comparison to others. Like, it's hard to justify a shortcoming you may have or to give yourself grace when you feel like you're not moving forward. But thinking positively doesn't necessarily mean you have to highlight the good parts. It can mean being constructive in how you think of yourself. I like to think of it as being your own critic, not someone who hates yourself or someone who sugarcoats mistakes. When you start reminding yourself to think positively and being mindful of where you can grow, you start to believe it. And this isn't some BS I'm saying because it's convenient. I didn't buy it at all until I found out that's literally how the brain works. It happens through something called neuroplasticity, which in simple terms is just how the brain rebuilds itself and makes repeated actions easier to do. When you think negatively, you reward it as the correct answer and make it a habit. So if you did the same thing with more constructive, positive thinking, over time, it'll build that connection in the exact same way. It's sort of become entertaining in a way, at least to me. You start to pick up on some of the pure nonsense reasons your brain throws out to protect you, and start questioning if those reasons are wrong and actually hurting you. Like, why does your mind come up with these thoughts and what purpose do they serve? Let's set up a scenario. Maybe for when you wanted to try learning something new. What sort of doubts would you have? Will I even be good at this? Is there a point in trying? You hardly started. What use does thinking about your future self have on how good you are now? I don't have the time to get better. Skills don't have a minimum requirement to get better. You'd make more progress with 30 minutes of work compared to someone wasting an hour or more stuck watching tutorials or thinking about how bad they'll be. Here's one I see a lot. What if people don't like me? People won't like you because you're new. Not because what you do is purely bad, but because there's not much to see to begin with. Do you think the pros had people lining up to see their first work, their first days of practice? The answer is no. What if this isn't for me? What if I'm not meant to do this? First of all, you're not meant for anything. You don't find something you're meant for, you build it. You build meaning over time, not magically find it like it was promised to you. And you wouldn't build or find it anyways if you stay stuck worrying. Maybe you're starting to see a pattern between most of these, which is that they are mostly concerned about a future which hasn't happened. I quit trying to pursue different skills and convince myself I wasn't meant for them because I was too busy playing myself down before I had a chance to get good. Tell me, in what way would these thoughts help you in getting better? A core principle I hold is to push back against impulsive thoughts and keep my expectations in check. I fully believe it works because I've been on both sides now, of thinking poorly of myself and being more critical with how I think. This doesn't mean you can't dream or always have to find the most realistic middle ground. What I'm getting at is that you should get the most out of the expectations you have. Be in control of your thoughts, know your intentions, and that the way you think impacts how you feel and act. This doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Just, from now on, keep reminding yourself to take a step back when the thoughts start getting noisy. Controlling your expectations is hard, but over time, it'll become easy, and you won't even notice. I'm Dormy, and I like to talk about things that have helped me. Thank you for watching this far. Subscribe if this helped you in any way. It lets me know I was able to reach someone and helps a lot. No pressure though. See ya.